A big welcome in the offing for the Chinese president, who is about to step out of the Air China aircraft. On your screens, children with face masks of President Xi Jinping lined up to give China's president a warm welcome. This 24-hour meeting between Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi is set to kick off in a short while from now. Bear in mind, at the end of the day, Prime Minister Modi will be hosting Xi Jinping for a dinner. There will be an engagement before that, and there will be an engagement again tomorrow morning as well in the historic town of Mamallapuram, which has had historic ties with ancient China. The Pallavas and the Cholas of southern India. That's how back the history between ancient China and India goes, perhaps even further. But today is another historic moment because the tradition of an informal summit began in Wuhan in China. And at that time, the Doklam tensions were at their peak, and the Wuhan summit was crucial in cooling tensions and rebooting India-China ties with President Xi Jinping of China and Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India, and their relationship setting the tone really for it. And now, this is a repeat of that. And in a sense, it's expected to carry on the Wuhan spirit, this second informal summit in Mamallapuram, about 60 kilometers away from the city of Chennai. Chinese national flags, children with the face masks of Xi Jinping, waiting to accord the Chinese president a grand welcome, along with cultural dance performance as well. As you can see on the screens, these are the latest visuals coming in. We're bringing you non-stop coverage. Traditional Tamil folk dance performances on in full swing in Chennai, as in near Chennai in Mamallapuram. Two sets of visuals on your screens. One is of the cultural performances, the Tamil rural folk and classical Bharatanatyam performances that are ongoing as a welcome to China's President Xi Jinping. And on the other side is the visuals from the Chennai airport, where Chinese President Xi Jinping's plane has indeed touched down. This summit in Mamallapuram comes at a time when we've seen a shift in China's stance on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir after Prime Minister Imran Khan of Pakistan made a quick dash to China to meet Xi Jinping less than 2 days before he left for India. While we understand from our sources that Kashmir as an issue will not be brought up by India at these talks, there are also other overarching issues that are on the table to be discussed. And these are live latest visuals on your screens as we await President Xi Jinping of China to step out of that aircraft and be accorded the official welcome. For all those who've tuned into this broadcast, these are live latest visuals coming in from Chennai, where China's President Xi Jinping has just touched down. The Air China aircraft on your screens on the right-hand side is the Chinese President's aircraft, and he is set to step out onto the tarmac any moment now. On the left-hand side are the cultural performances that are on in full swing in Chennai to accord a warm welcome to President Xi Jinping. A celebratory atmosphere in Chennai with both classical Bharatanatyam performances as well as Tamil rural folk dance and music performances, as you can see from the percussion instruments on the screens. Mamallapuram and the route from Chennai to Mamallapuram, we understand, are decked up. They've been given a thorough clean, and people in Chennai report that the roads look as good as the ones in Singapore. And along with that, a celebratory atmosphere really for the arrival of China's President Xi Jinping. A historic moment in a sense because it's history repeating itself. It was back in the year 1957 when the Chinese president came to India and again to Mamallapuram. And now in 2019, that piece of history is repeating itself. India literally rolling out the red carpet for Xi Jinping. The second largest economy in the world and the fastest growing economy in the world, has huge significance considering the population of these two countries. In excess of 1.5 billion for China and closely catching up is India, with India expected to beat China's population soon. So this meeting has global significance in terms of what these two leaders can come to a conclusion at during these talks. As you can see, the live visuals, you're seeing the president's entourage stepping out a rousing reception in the works for China's President Xi Jinping as he's moments away from stepping out of the aircraft. The security clearance is nearly completed. You've seen an Indian official step inside the aircraft as well. These are live visuals on the right-hand side of your screens of the Chinese President's aircraft on the tarmac of the Chennai International Airport. And on the left-hand side of your screens are visuals of music and dance and celebration. India-China talks have global significance, and this is an interesting way of carrying forward a relationship between two countries that's based on the relationship between the leaders of the two countries. It's the second time that such an informal summit is happening. Bear in mind, the first of which happened in Wuhan. There was no tradition of an informal summit before Prime Minister Modi of India and President Xi Jinping of China began it in Wuhan. Now, over a year later, the second informal summit, after much anticipation, is all set to kick off. There you have it. China's President Xi Jinping steps out onto the aircraft to a rousing reception of drums and horns. Traditional Tamil folk music being performed in full glory to welcome China's President Xi Jinping as he steps out of the aircraft and onto the tarmac. India rolling out the red carpet for Xi Jinping. He's being accorded the official welcome. Music and dance and flowers to woo the Chinese president. The Chief Minister of the state of Tamil Nadu, Edappadi Panichami, and the Deputy Chief Minister, O. Pannirselvam, both greeting the Chinese delegation upon their arrival in India. And now we have Mr. Atul Aneja, senior journalist from The Hindu, joining us on Skype on this broadcast as well. Mr. Atul Aneja, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. These are, scenes of great significance. It's the second informal summit, and India rolling out the red carpet. A very Tamil welcome given to President Xi Jinping.
Exactly, and this is what would go down very well with the Chinese president, who is deeply into civilizational ties, and we could see it even in Wuhan. Then when it came to the cultural dimension of diplomacy, that's where President Xi is probably at his best. So I think this kind of a welcome would go down very well diplomatically, and is a very good beginning for the talks which are going to begin between him and Prime Minister Modi.
Absolutely, very good beating. The colors and the sounds. Let's get a sense of all of it. That's a reception that President Xi Jinping of China should remember for a very long time. A very enthusiastic, vibrant, traditional, rustic. There are so many words to describe this particular welcome that the Chinese president is giving. He's really enjoying it. As you can see from the visuals, he's stopping to give a nod to that performance that is taking place in front of him. Tamil rural folk music and dance, a treat for the eyes and the ears of the Chinese president, and it's visible from the way he's waving and stopping to nod and take time out to enjoy this performance. The ones on your screens right now are the fake horses performance, or called the Poikal Kudure performances of the Tamil folk music and dance. This is going on from here on. As you can see on your screens, the Bharatanatyam, or the classical dance performances, is well lined up for the Chinese president, and he's taking a moment out to enjoy that as well. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you call a rousing reception that's accorded to somebody. President Xi Jinping of China on the red carpet, given a fabulous welcome by India. One that will be remembered for a while now. And from the Chennai International Airport, the Chinese president from now will head to the historical coastal town of Mamallapuram. That's about 60 kilometers away from Chennai. Mamallapuram, also popularly called as Mahabalipuram. The Chinese president's convoy making the exit outside the Chennai International Airport as the performances come to an end. We already know that Mamallapuram is already decked up to receive President Xi Jinping. And bear in mind, the road from here to Mamallapuram has been made spick and span. That's what the people of Chennai say. Whoever has taken these roads for their daily commute to work or elsewhere, they vouch by the fact that President Xi Jinping will see the best version of these roads that lead up to the town of Mamallapuram. Atul Aneja, China correspondent of The Hindu, continues to be with us live from Beijing on Skype. Mr. Atul Aneja, that is something that I'm hearing from people in Chennai. The road from Chennai Airport to Mamallapuram has been made to sparkle.
Yeah, and that is very befitting. And you can see, you know, the Chinese president would be reminded of the kind of infrastructure he has back home, and would feel very much at home, given the high quality of the road which has been built from Chennai to Mamallapuram.
Absolutely. And I wanted to also ask you, you know, there is the historical significance of all of it. You know, the ties go back to the Pallavas and the Cholas, and we also had a Chinese president arrive in 1957 in this very town. And apart from all of it, Atul Aneja, I wanted to ask you about the significance of it in terms of the bilateral ties. It doesn't come at the easiest of times between India and China.
Not at all. And I think that's why this visit is extremely important. Because the talks can be give a definite and a defining trajectory to India-China ties, especially after the recent events which have taken place. Tensions, in the sense there have been sharp differences between India and China after August 5th abrogation of Article 370. and which has been reflected in internationalization of the Kashmir issue and China backing Pakistan on it. So given the context and the sensitivity of this issue, I think this is the time when both leaders can sit down, resolve, or at least have a formulation to resolve these issues and give a positive direction to the relationship. And that is very, very necessary because it has to come at the highest level. And the other bureaucracies, others will follow the strategic direction which will be given. So extremely crucial talks ahead as President Xi and Prime Minister Modi head to Mamallapuram from Chennai airport.
Atul Aneja, China correspondent of The Hindu, joining us on this broadcast live straight from Beijing. Atul Aneja, please stay with us, sir. We also have our correspondent Siddhant Sibal now joining us live on this broadcast. Siddhant, President Xi Jinping has left the tarmac, has left the international airport of Chennai, and it's about a matter of an hour, hour and a half, I'm guessing, before he reaches Mahabalipuram.
Well, yes, Krishna, all the town is decked up. Mamallapuram is decked up for the second informal summit between India and China, and the Chinese president has landed in Chennai, the capital of the southern Indian province of Tamil Nadu. His convoy has started from Chennai, and it takes approximately 1 hour to reach this town where we are standing right now. And of course, we know that security has been heightened up. In fact, nobody can move on the roads. The schools have been shut down. But of course, we know that this is an important event for this small town, which is now on the world map because of this important summit as world's two most important leaders, India's Narendra Modi and China's Xi Jinping, meet for approximately 3 hours today. They will be meeting starting at 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time and continue till 6 p.m. And then, of course, there will be the dinner which will happen near the Shore Temple, which is a UNESCO heritage site. The Chinese president is accompanied by a 90-member delegation. That's a huge delegation in which the top officials of the party, the Communist Party, and the Foreign Minister of China, Wang Yi, will be present in the evening when the dinner will happen. It will be in the 1+8 format. That is the leader and of course the 8-member delegation. So overall there will be a 16-member delegation and 2 leaders. That means 18 people will be having dinner. And we also know that tomorrow will be another important day when there will be the first time both the leaders will be speaking on camera. The opening statements by both the leaders will be done live when they meet and they sit together. But of course, if we look at the overall duration of their conversation, they will be having conversation of personal time for approximately 6 hours. These are 2 of the world's most important leaders, and they'll be sitting together, of course, with their translators for 6 hours. So that means they will be discussing everything from issues of convergences to the issues of divergences. On issues both have complementarities like reforms at WTO or at various global institutions, or divergences when it comes to the issue of border, because we know border dispute is something that is on top of the mind of both the countries. Both want to resolve it, but there's a difference in perception of the line of actual control. So both sides are expected to spur up or start the process of CBMs or confidence building measures that are expected to be announced during the SR level or the senior representative level talks, which will happen later this year in India. So that remains a top priority. But trade is another thing which will be a priority for New Delhi, because New Delhi has been very vocal when it comes to trade deficit with China. $55 billion trade deficit is a huge trade deficit, and India has made it clear that China needs to import more from India so that this trade deficit can be bridged. So there are a number of issues, but this down right now decked up to welcome the leader from China. He will be moving through the road where we are just nearby. We are just standing. We can't, of course, show you because of the huge security restrictions in place in the town.
Siddhant Sibal joining us live on this broadcast somewhere between Chennai and Mamallapuram. We have with us Mr. Atul Aneja, the China correspondent of Hindu, joining us live from Beijing as well. Mr. Atul Aneja, the other sticky issue between India and China, at least for China, is the fact that it sees this trade imbalance as something that's not sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, trade issue is a very major issue between the two countries. Now, It can be addressed if China liberalizes Indian imports of pharmaceuticals, for example. That's a big issue which has been negotiated for a long time, but that's vital. That'll help address some of the concerns of the imbalance in the trade, imbalanced trade between the two countries. The second thing is IT products. I think that's also something which is India's, especially the software side, is India's strength. And software exports to India to China can really gallop if India and China agree to come together on writing software for AI products, because China is in the front line of AI, artificial intelligence, and the Indian software engineers can well benefit from that, especially at a time when we are at the cusp of a 5G revolution. So IT will be another very major issue. And the third thing which can address the trade imbalance is Chinese investments into India. I mean, that is something which has been talked of since September 2014 visit of President Xi to India. Because if Chinese investments come to India and the products which are produced by those investments are then sold back to China, that will be a big fillip to addressing the imbalanced trade between the two countries. So I think both on the trade as well as on the investment end, we need to negotiate and work on that. And I think third thing is the context in which it is taking place. There's a trade war going on between China and the United States. Many Chinese companies are shifting base from China to Vietnam, but they have not shifted base to India so far. I think if that happens, that will be a great thing for Make in India as well. So these are things which need to be negotiated and talked about. President Xi and Prime Minister Modi will not talk into the nitty-gritties, but they can agree on basic broad principles, and the officials then can follow on that direction and those principles identified by the two leaders.
Atul Aneja joining us live from Beijing as we continue to bring you images from that welcome that was accorded to the Chinese president, who took special time out to appreciate it and enjoy it as he waved to all the performers as he walked out of the tarmac. And we're looking at a timeline of less than an hour from now, really, by which the president should reach the coastal town of Mamallapuram.